First and foremost, and to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Yahweh is who this world ignorantly calls God. Yahushai is who this world ignorantly calls Jesus. Ba'ashem means in the name. Rakah means spirit, and Quadash means holy. And that's on the Paleo Hebrew. Also to give double honors to the elder bishops and apostles of Great Millstone that taught me this truth. Today's video, not sure what I'm going to title it, but actually we'll start with this scripture. In Job, or Psalms chapter 82 and verse 5, it says, "They know not, neither will they understand. They walk on in darkness. All the foundations of the earth are out of course." Okay, and that's what I wanted to go into, is how this earth has been completely flipped upside down. Okay, we live in a society where a righteousness is seen as wickedness, right? And wickedness is seen as righteousness. There's actually a scripture that says that, goes into how the Israelites, they're wise to do evil, but to do wickedness, right? This is 1 Jeremiah chapter 4 and verse 22. It says, "For my people is foolish, they have not known me. They are sottish children, and they have none understanding. They are wise to do evil, but to do good they have no knowledge." Right, and that is the current state of our people today, and actually the majority of the world. Right, everybody is wise to do evil. Everybody has a meticulous plan on how to get with their brother's wife. Commit adultery. How to backstab their brother. How to sell drugs to their sister, and continue that cycle of just complete destruction. That's all everybody knows how to do. Hey, go listen to the music. Everything talks about shooing up places, right? Killing a nigga, robbing a bitch, selling a sack, smoking drugs, and you're smoking weed. Just that type of lifestyle. That's all you hear 24/7. But you gotta ask yourself, where does this come from? Job chapter 9 and verse 24. It says, "The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he?" Right? And that's exactly why we see the Israelites being wicked. Right? We see the whole world being wicked. Is because the wicked, which are the Edomites, so-called white people, they are the ones ruling the world. And ever since they came into power, this world has been on a steady decline. You can actually read about that in First Maccabees chapter. We'll start at verse 1. It says, "And it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip the Macedonian, who came up out of the land of Shittim, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and Medes, that he reigned in his stead the first over Greece, and made many wars, and won many strongholds, and slew the kings of the earth, and went through to the ends of the earth, and took spoils of many nations, insomuch that the earth was quiet before him, whereupon he was exalted, and his heart was lifted up." Right, and that goes into Alexander the Great pretty much conquering all of the known world at that time, the East, in 12 years, something that was never seen before. And that was actually by the power of the Lord. Right, when you go into the writings of Flavius Josephus, right, and you go into how he wrote about Alexander the Great, he talked with the Israelite priests. Alexander the Great, a sacrifice unto Yahweh. Go read that. You find out that all this was prophecy, right? The Israelite priests showed Alexander where he was written in prophecy, and he himself said, "Hey, I find myself to be that person," and that motivated him to keep pushing. But verse 4, "And he gathered a mighty strong host and ruled over countries and nations and kings who became tributaries unto him. And after these things he fell sick and perceived that he should die. Wherefore he called his servants such as were honorable and had been brought up from his youth, and parted his kingdom among them while he was yet alive." Right, and that goes into primarily his four generals. Right, you had Antiochus, you had Seleucus, you had Antiochus, Seleucus, Cassander, and Ptolemy. Right, his four generals that took over after he died. says, so Alexander reigned 12 years and then died, and his servants bare rule everyone in his place. And after his death they all put crowns upon themselves, so did their sons after them many years, and evils were multiplied in the earth. And that's the key point, is ever since Alexander and his people started ruling is when evils were multiplied in the earth. And why is that? Because these Edomites are the wicked. You know, it says in the scripture that from their inception, they are wicked already. This is Psalms chapter 58 and verse 3. It says, the wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies. And let's see what that word estranged means. It says to be strange, be a stranger, to become strange, a strange woman, prostitute, harlot, to turn aside, to depart from the way of truth or an uprightness, right? So, the wicked, from birth, they have already gone away from the righteous ways, right? Because they're programmed to be like that. It says they go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies, right? And that's why we see what we see in the world right now, right? We see LGBTQ, all that nonsense being pushed. We see same-sex marriages, you know. The so-called Pope, right? The Holy Pope is out here agreeing, right? Blessing same-sex marriages. If that doesn't show you that the truth is not in the church and that this is all, a lie, then I don't know what else will awaken your eyes. But the reason we see everything upside down is because you got these Edomites, up in society. You got them ruling. But soon, Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai is going to punch their ticket. Right? Soon, all this is going to be over. Let's get this in Ecclesiastes chapter 10 and verse 6. It says, folly is set in great dignity, and the rich sit in low place. Okay, and when you go into what folly means, folly. To be foolish, be a fool. Fruitless, to act foolishly, to act wickedly, right? So wickedness is set in great dignity. Right now, a wickedness is the philosophy, right? When you go into the philosophy of America, it's pretty much do whatever you want to do, worship whatever God you want to worship, right? Just do you, boo. That's what they say, right? They say ignorance is bliss. They'd rather be ignorant than to take accountability for their actions. And all that is wickedness, right? Because when you look at righteousness is no, you can't do that, you have to do this, right? Which is ultimately a straight guideline, right? Being disciplined, following a specific path. So right now we live in a world where, you tell somebody that they're not supposed to eat a piece of pork, and they're not supposed to commit adultery, they look at you crazy, right? They look at you like you're the one that's insane. And, ultimately it's supposed to be that way, right? When you read Jeremiah chapter 4, or no, when you read, let's find it. Ecclesiasticus chapter 33 and verse 14, it says, good is set against evil, and life against death. So is the godly against the sinner, and the sinner against the godly. Right? So it's supposed to be that way. Right? That these people look at you crazy, and you look at them crazy. Right? Because, Yahweh Bashmi Hawashai has got some people out here that they're just not meant to get the truth. They're supposed to be blind, until those missiles drop. So here it is. There used to be a time in the earth where, it was the opposite. Somebody would tell you, hey, eat this piece of pork, and you would look at them crazy. Righteousness was the standard on the earth. Hey, go read, I think it's in First Maccabees. This shows you, or a couple stories, but one of the stories that shows you the importance of the law and just how important it is the story of the woman with her 7 holy children. Right? How in the Greek captivity, right, during the Maccabean period, you had Antiochus Epiphanes. He pretty much told this woman's son, eat this piece of pork in front of everybody. And the son is like, nah, I ain't gonna eat it. I'd rather die honorably than to eat this abomination. And pretty much what happened is that Antiochus tortured the kid, right? Burned him alive. And he ended up doing the same thing to the second brother, the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. He tortured them all because they wouldn't eat the piece of pork. And finally, the mother also, a, you know, she let the spirit go. She also got tortured. But that right there shows you how important it is to keep the law, right? And if you were to read one of those stories today to the average Joe Schmo, Babylonian here in America, they'd be like, "Damn, why didn't they just eat the piece of pork?" Right? If I was there, I would have fucked that shit up. Right? Some bacon, that shit would have been fire. That's what these people would say nowadays, right? Because they don't understand the magnitude of these commandments. But there's another um part where it was going into how Antiochus wanted an Israelite to eat pork in front of others. And Ecclesiasticus, right? Eleazar, Second Maccabees 6:18. Let's read that real quick. It says Eleazar, one of the principal scribes, an aged man, and of well favored countenance, was constrained to open his mouth and to eat swine's flesh. But he, choosing rather to die gloriously than to live stained with such an abomination, spit it forth, and came of his own accord to the torment. As they behoved them to come that are resolute to stand out against such things, as are not lawful for love of life to be tasted. Right? So, hey, he pretty much said, hey, fuck that shit. I'd rather die as a man than to eat that abomination. It says, but they that had the charge of that wicked feast for the old acquaintance they had with the man, taking him aside, besought him to bring flesh of his own provision, such as was lawful for him to use, and make as if he did eat of the flesh taken from the sacrifice commanded by the king, that in so doing he might be delivered from death, and for the old friendship with them find favor. But he began to consider discreetly, and as became his age, and the excellency of his ancient years, and the honor of his great head whereon was come, and his most honest education from a child, or rather the holy law made and given by God. Therefore he answered accordingly, and willed them straightways to send him to the grave. For it becometh not our age, said he, in any wise to dissemble, whereby many young persons might think that Eleazar, being fourscore years old and 10, were now gone into a strange religion. And so they, through mine hypocrisy, and desire to live a little time and a moment longer, should be deceived by me, and I get a stain to mine old age, and make it abominable. So pretty much, he wanted to go out courageously. Right, let's keep reading. It says, wherefore now, manfully changing this life, I will show myself such as one as mine age requireth, and leave a notable example to such as be young to die willingly and courageously for the honorable and holy laws. And when he had said these words, immediately he went to the torment. They that led him changing the good, will they bear him a little before to hatred, because the foresaid speeches proceeded as they thought from a desperate mind. When he was ready to die with stripes, he groaned and said, it is manifest unto the Lord that hath the holy knowledge, that whereas I might have been delivered from death, I now endure sore pains in my body by being beaten, but in soul am well content to suffer these things, because I fear him. And thus this man died, leaving his death for an example of a noble courage, and a memorial of virtue, not only unto young men, but unto all his nation. And that right there is a heavy testimony. Eleazar, till this day, 2,000 years, right? 2,400 years later, we're hearing about what he did, right? Where he's an example of how to be. And the coldest part is because he said, I do all these things because I fear him. I fear Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. And when you go into what the scriptures say about that, it says that the beginning of wisdom is the fear of the Lord. Now, that's one of the biggest things that you need, right? Is faith and fear. And that's something that this world lacks, right? These people in this world, they don't fear God, right? They think that it's a a stupid thing to fear God, fear their Creator, and they do a completely contrary to what He said. What's gonna happen is the same thing that happens when you got a disobedient child, right? Think about it. Okay, here it is. You got a child that's acting, all types of out of pocket. You tell him to do something, he doesn't want to do it, right? He's just being wicked. What are you gonna do to? What are you gonna do to him? You're gonna beat him, right? You're gonna discipline him. That's exactly what the Lord is about to do. It's just that He's gonna discipline this world, but by fire, right? He's gonna do that quick cleaning. So, these people are in for a rude awakening. But it all goes back to the philosophy. Let's get that here in Habakkuk chapter 2 and verse 5. It says, Yea, also because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied. But gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. Right, and that man that is talking about is these Edomites. Right, it says that they transgress by wine. Right, when you go into what wine means, right, here it might say, the actual, bubbling, the alcohol. But what it's actually going into is the philosophy, right? These Edomites transgress by their philosophy, which is wickedness. It says, He is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlarges his desire as hell and as death, and cannot be satisfied. Right, going into how these Edomites constantly take. Right, take, and they never give back. That's why it's gonna get to a point that all these nations, right, verse 6, shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, Woe to him that increaseth that which is not his, how long? Right, taking. And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. Right, when you go into that word thick clay, it goes into the Hebrew word ibatiat, which means weighted pleasures, heavy debts. Right, so these Edomites, they take, and they cover themselves with debt. Right, and they don't pay it off. That's why if you search up the U.S. national debt clock, let's see what it's at right now, real time. Boom, 36 trillion. So that's that man covering himself with thick clay. But what's gonna happen? Verse 8. Verse 7. Shall they not rise up suddenly that shall bite thee, and awake that shall vex thee, and thou shalt be for booties unto them. Right, which booties goes into spoils. Because thou hast spoiled many nations, all the remnant of the people shall spoil thee, because of men's blood, and for the violence of the land, of the city, and of all that dwell therein. So all these nations that have been with America, they're all going to turn on this place. You can read that in Revelation chapter 17, where it talks about how the 10 horns shall shoot fire upon the whore, right, and burn the whore. Going into NATO and EU. Even America's allies are going to turn on this place and shoot missiles over here. Why? Because of men's blood, for the violence of the land, of the city, and of all that dwell therein. Right, the way that they operate, America operates, and for what they did here in America to the so-called Latinos, Negroes, and Native Americans, right, the Hebrew Israelites. So they got to pay. Right, and a quote that always comes to my mind by Thomas Jefferson is, he said, I fear knowing that the Lord is a just power. Right, why did Thomas Jefferson say that? Right, because he knows that everything that his people did, if the Lord is truly just, everything that they did shall come upon their own heads. But we'll end it with this, going into why all this is happening. Revelation chapter 6 and verse 3 says, And when he had opened the second seal, I heard the second beast saying, Come and see. And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another. And there was given unto him a great sword. Right, and this is all talking about the Edomites ruling the world. Right, it says that the horse was red. Right, when you go into what Edom means, let's get that. When you go into what Edom means, Genesis chapter 25 and verse 30, And Esau said to Jacob, Feed me, I pray thee, with that same red pottage, for I am faint. Therefore was his name called Edom. Right, and when you go into the Hebrew, Edom, Adawam in the Hebrew, means red. Right, that's the first clue. Second clue is it says that power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth. that they should kill one another, and there is given unto him a great sword. And that's the second clue that seals the deal. Right, when you go into the blessing of Esau, it says that his blessing was going to be Genesis chapters 27 and verse 39. It says, And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, Behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of heaven from above. Right, so going into the richness, the nice parts of the earth, which they're actually enjoying that blessing right now. It says, And by thy sword shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass, when thou shalt have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. Right, and that's what I wanted to bring out, is these Edomites, they live by the sword. Right, and that's the great sword that was given unto them, to take peace from the earth. So, this is why we see the world completely upside down, is because you got these Edomites in power. But it's just for a small season, as it says in Revelation, the 20th chapter. Right? So I'll leave it at that. Hopefully this was edifying with that, and give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rakakwadash, and double honors to the elder bishops and apostles of great millstone that taught me this truth. Shalom, to you like Shalom.